Hi everyone, it's Tonya Gibbs, and today I want to share with you a mixed media layout of my beautiful nieces. This is a Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft guest design team project for the summer. I am going to use the Gelatos double scoops in the metallic mint, bubblegum, mango, margarita mix, and lemon. I'm also going to use the Stampendous Big Brush Artist Pens in the black number 199 and the Cadmium Yellow number 107. The Essentials PITT Artist Pens in black. I will use the medium pen today. I'm also going to use the Textural Accents Glass Bead Glitter Gel and the tool set, the Gelatos Mist Maker set. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm starting with a Slick Surface cardstock by Tattered Angels. It's one of their specialty papers. I've misted it with water, and now I'm applying some of the pigment from the Gelatos Double Scoop Lemon. I am just working that pigment in with a moistened paper towel, and I'm blotting it out in certain spots. Then I come back in with the mango, and I'm adding a little more water so I can get some nice drippage and some different texture. As you water the gelatos down, the pigment does become a little more translucent, so you'll notice that I just keep going back over and applying more color to the top. I'm sticking with the warm color palettes for this particular part of the project because if you add a cool color here, you have the risk of creating mud. And I really want this to be a very vibrant colored background. These are not my typical color palettes, so it's nice to experiment with something different. And notice that I'm just using the residual pigment that's left over on the paper towel to fill in the bottom. This gives me some nice shading and a really neat looking ombre effect. If you want the gelatos to be a little more concentrated in color, then just simply apply them and then rub them in with your finger rather than a baby wipe. So as you can see at the top where I've rubbed with my finger, the pigment's very strong. So now I'm coming in with the pink, and the pink is the bubble gum. And again, just working that color in to create my background. I love to create my own backgrounds for my layouts. I think that it adds a little bit of my art touch to things. So now I'm going to create some other options for using the gelatos. I'm taking the metallic mint, and it has a really nice metallic finish. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up really well, but I'm breaking off a piece here on my surface, adding a little bit of water to create a paint type texture. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to one of the mini misters and add a little bit of water to it, and now I have a misting option with the gelatos. So there's several ways you can use these gelatos, and I absolutely love them. They have become my go-to medium. So once again, you'll see me adding a little bit of water to this mister, and I'm just going to shake it up really well off camera so you guys don't get super dizzy from the shaking of the camera. So then I'm going to just add it to that, and then I'm going to take the rest of the pigment that's there, and I'm going to mix a little bit of the glass bead glitter gel, and that is going to help me to give a color to this glass bead glitter gel. Now the gel does keep a white creamy texture until it dries, and then it will dry clear. So as it looks right now, it's very muted from the white in the gel, but once that gel dries clear, this will become a little more translucent, and the original pigment color from the gelato will shine through. So I'm using a stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. This is the mini Harlequin, and I am just applying that straight to my layout. Again, it's going to be very thick, just like you used a modeling paste or the whipped spackle, but it will dry with a more translucent look, as well as the glitter, and then you'll also have the texture from the glass bead gels that are in the medium. So absolutely love this, and I love that you can recolor the medium with any of your gelato colors, making it nice and custom. So I'm just applying that around in a circle. Now the mist that we just created is a little more translucent, and I'm just spritzing that around so that I can get just another little piece of texture to this, and it just kind of helps to soften up the edges where the glass bead gel kind of starts and stops. Now I'm going to dab up some of those spots, and then I'm just going to lightly hit that with the heat tool. I really let this dry mostly on its own. I just needed it a little dry so that I could add this warm color of the pink on top, so that my colors wouldn't blend too much. Now the pink is the actual bubble gum that I've made a mister out of off camera. I didn't, once you saw me make it the first time, I didn't think you needed to watch me make it the second time. So that is the bubblegum color. Now I'm just taking some turquoise thread and just putting it on there. Again, it offers another texture. And this is a vintage school book. This is actually a story that came from a textbook that is vintage, and it's been in my stash. I scour garage sales and friends of the library type sales to look for children's books that they just make a really neat addition. And usually I try to find books that are already destroyed so I don't feel guilty about cutting them up. And then this is paper from My Mind's Eye. It is called the Reunion Collection. It has a lot of the oranges, pinks, and turquoises that I've selected for my background colors, so it will help to bring those colors back up to the top and frame out my photo. This is a photo that I'm using today of the first day of school for my two nieces. Their mother shared the picture online. And so I swiped it, and I am using it today. So thank you so much to Ashley for letting me use this photo from your timeline. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to use my Tim Holtz tiny attacher to kind of staple those together. I'm not ready to commit to placement on my layout as of yet, simply because that background I think is still a little bit too wet. One thing I didn't mention is be very careful heating up the glass bead glitter gel with your heat gun, because it will rise and blister, which will offer a really nice grungy texture, but it may not be the look you're after, so be very careful with that. Of course, after I stapled all of these together, I decided the lines were just a little too clean for a mixed media layout, so I grabbed out my Prima tool, and I'm going to distress up the edges of all of these little pieces of paper that I've put together here. And that's just going to help to make those edges not so harsh to look at. So now it's time to think about how I am going to make this cluster of neat colored papers match my layout. So I've decided to flick some of that metallic mint mister paint onto that section. And the reason that I'm using that is because it is a little watered down, so it does still have that translucent look. But then I decided that I needed to add the mini numbers from the Crafters Workshop because it's school days and you've got math and that kind of stuff, so I thought that that would be a really good thing to add. And then I flipped it around to get a really nice tone-on-tone look in my pink area. Now, to miss that, I did use the mister that I had created with the bubble gum. So it has a really nice tone-on-tone effect down there in the bottom, where that background goes from that dark, rich color to the paler color. So now I've decided to take some of these roses that I've had in my stash for a really long time. They're just a little too thick for scrapbook projects. So I'm going to open them up and expose the little ball that's on the inside of it. And this is going to help to flatten them out a little bit so they stick on my layout without too much dimension and depth, and it gives them a different look. I'm going to take that cadmium yellow Stampers Big Brush Artist pen and color in the center. That's like a styrofoam ball. Now the thing I like about these Stampers Big Brush Artist pens is that they are India ink, so they go on temporary and then they dry permanent. So they will not bleed out once they are completely dry. So I'm going to do this to 3 or 4 of these flowers. You don't need to watch me do the whole thing, so you get the technique there. And I just watered down some of that PITT pen to create like a paint that I could paint onto the center of the flowers as well. Now I'm coming back with my gelatos. I'm using the lemon, and I'm also using the bubblegum and the mango on my Polaroid type frame here. This frame, I just created a frame on my silhouette, a cut file, and I love to leave the backs on these because it gives me the opportunity to place my frame before I place my picture, and it serves as like a placeholder. Notice that I'm using both water and my finger to blend out that gelato. Now I have a piece of wood veneer. This is from American Crafts, and it's called Wood Cards, and I'm using the Smile Cut, and I decided to use that off to the side because they're all happy and they're smiling, but I decided to cut it in half and use the other half that would have gotten hidden behind the Polaroid for a little small quote. You'll see that in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how you can use your gelatos to color your wood veneers. And I just added a little bit of water to that. Of course, it waters it down a little bit, but it does help to soak into the wood a little bit better. So I'm just going to apply a little bit more pigment and really rub that in, and I love the richness of this. And remember that this particular gelato has a metallic finish to it, so it's hard to see in video, but it has a nice shine and sheen to it. So now I'm going to color up that negative piece and just rub that in really well. And reach for my stamps. I'm going to be using the Phrases #2 from Tim Holtz, and it says, "Live the life that you've imagined." And I'm going to use my Stamper's Big Brush Artist Pen in black as a stamp ink pad. So I'm just going to color that right over. And of course, since this is a new stamp, I wanted to test it first on the back. And of course, it did it perfect that time. And so now I'm going to do it over the top of my colored side, and boom, the mistake. I didn't press hard enough on the sides and it didn't transfer. So then I tried to go over it again, didn't work. So guess what? I'm going to use that back side. Then as I'm coloring it, I realized, oh no, the PITT pen hasn't dried yet. So dry it really well before you rub anything over the top, or else it will smear. So remember that it is permanent once it's dry, but until it dries, it is going to smear a little bit. So it was late at night when I was creating this project, and I decided to leave those uh-oh moments in there just for you guys, so you know what is up. I do make mistakes too. So anyway, now I'm going to use this grunge stamp from Stampendous, and this one's called the Mish. And again, I'm using my PITT pen to color up that stamp, and I'm just going to add a little bit of black to the back. I wanted to create my photo cluster before I did my stamping so that I wouldn't spend so much time stamping and then end up covering it up. I love the subtlety of this stamp. This is one of my go-to set of stamps lately, so I'm really enjoying the texture that it leaves behind. So once I've got all my stamping in place, and I had put my thread down and I hadn't glued it down yet because I want it to kind of be free-flowing and organic looking. I don't want it glued down. I really want it to just move about the page as you pick it up, so it is free-formed. So now I'm going to adhere my little embellishment cluster there to the center of that section, and I decided that it's still just needed a little bit more grunge, so I'm going back with that same stamp and adding a little bit of that texture to that as well. And then I'm going to also dirty up my Polaroid because it was just a little too perfect. So here's my photo. I love the Instagram framing that is going on with this photo. It was from Instagram, so it fits nicely in my little frame. And then I decided that my wood veneer just wasn't, the word smile wasn't standing out too much, so I just reached into my scrap pile and pulled out a piece of scrap paper that matched my background color to cover up the background of that word, and now it sticks out a lot better. And here you can see how my stamping turned out on my little other half of my veneer. So I'm going to add make sure when you're gluing your pictures down that you actually glue them in the right direction. So what I did was, since the picture's going to sit up on the word smile there a little bit, I just added a piece of foam tape to that. I've covered up my picture with a piece of tissue paper so I don't mess it up, since I've added it so early in this stage. I'm going to go ahead and start adhering down my flowers. I wanted 3 of them, so I'm twisting up the wire stems there. and I'm going to add them. They don't actually end up living in this space. I think I actually end up moving them around in a few minutes, but you got the general idea there. So I realized I had this big gap there in the center under the flowers, and I wasn't really sure where I wanted to put that third one. I didn't like it over there on the left, off by itself, or the one on the right off by itself, but I just couldn't find that right placement yet. So I grabbed out a Prima Junkyard Findings in the typo bulbs, and I was trying to make it fit. And since the words are on it, the word says memory, I decided it works better over there on the left, under that cluster of flowers. Then I decided, no, I really don't like that one flower sitting up there, because I had found this Polaroid, and it's actually a stamp from Meyer Road. It's called Snapshots, I believe. And I had pre-colored it for another project. It had already had the little rhinestones on it, so it was a good time to use it because I didn't use it the last time. So then I found this little ruler from Meyer Road. Again, it's wooden, and I'm going to use that bubblegum gelato to color that up, and just bring some of that pink element down below those flowers. Make sure if you have these really thick pieces that you do color the sides, because you can see them from the side on the layouts. So I just tucked that in right there under those flowers, and I love how the ruler kind of fits the school theme that we have going on here. So does the light bulb, and then the camera obviously fits. Because this is an Instagram photo. Now I found this little clothespin that was in my little bowl on my desk of little odds and ends, and it's from Canvas Core. I'm going to attach it right there. It just kind of helps to soften that transition between that text paper, and it makes it look like you're adhering that wood veneer on. Now I've got the stamp from Little Yellow Bicycle, and it says beautiful. It's just a bunch of words that say beautiful and things like that. It doesn't have a name for the stamp set on the packaging. I'm using my PITT Big Brush Artist Pen to color it in. Now, since this was a new stamp and it is a gel stamp, I did stamp it several times with that PITT pen off to the side, just so that the stamp wouldn't be so new. And it would get a better coverage. And now I have the rest of my sentiment came from the same stamp set. It says perfect and beautiful. So what I'm doing is I'm lining the jelly stamps up where I want them to stamp on my page, and then I'm adhering them to my block. And then that way I get them perfectly spaced apart. Then I'm just going to use that pen, and again, off camera, I just stamped it several times until it started to stamp perfectly, since this was a new stamp set. So it is perfect and beautiful. And I'm usually very stamping challenged, so if I could do it, I know you can do it. Now I'm going to take that Essential Artist Pen and the PITT Artist Pen, and I am going to start tracing around all of the borders of my frames. Again, if I had thought of this whenever they were not attached to anything, it would have been a lot easier, but it was just one of those things I thought about. My niece Avery is going into the 3rd grade, and 3rd graders typically doodle a lot on their work, so I thought this would be really nice to add. It helps my frames to just sort of pop up and take notice as well. So you're going to notice I've colored them in all around, and now I'm going to go around the border, and this little bit of detail will help your eye find a stopping point for all of this color, and it will help to draw your eye back into the center of your photograph, where your photograph lives. So it just gives boundaries to the edges, and I really like to finish off the edges of my layouts. Now I'm going to do a double line, and this time I'm not trying to be straight. I'm kind of squiggling it around. Again, that gives it that nice doodled look. And I'm using the medium point pen that's in the set. I found that with the gelatos that I just do better with the medium point. It writes beautifully right over the top of them as long as they are dry. Now I've added my journaling down below the light bulb there area, and it just simply documents the year and lets me know who's in the picture and that it's the first day of school and what grade they're going into. Now off camera, several videos ago, I had made this mist. I think it was the Cooper one. I had made this mist that is black. It's the licorice, the black licorice gelato. And I had watered it down, and then I had stored it in these little airtight containers, and I use it for my black splatters. So it's just a mixture of the licorice gelato, and I think I put a little bit of matte medium in it and watered it down. And I just kept adding pigment until I got the right thickness and the right color. Now I'm using a Dynamite's dye, large ivy dye. I felt like my flowers needed to be grounded a little bit, and I'm going to pull out that Margarita and the metallic mint color again, and I'm just coloring those up, and I wanted them to have that kind of tie-dyed neon look, which is why I used the Margarita mix. And then I'm just going to trace over the edges of those as well, just to outline my flowers and give that doodled look to them too. It just adds a little bit of whimsy to everything, and matches the outlining that I did on the other layers. So now I'm just going to cut the branch apart and use pieces of the leaves around my flower cluster. All of my die cuts are cut from scrap paper. That's what I do. I just go through my stash every now and then and just die cut out a bunch of dies. So they're ready to go when I'm ready to go. And I just absolutely love to do that. And it's a great way to use up those scraps. So now I am just tucking those in all around. I just, if I do it to the left, I'm going to try and do it to the right, and then I'm going to come back down to the bottom and add it there, so that I'm following my rule of thirds, but I'm also making sure everything has a nice balance and texture to it. Also notice that I did this off camera, but I found this little heart paper clip that was on my desk in my little odds and end bucket. So I've added it to the negative space of the photo up there at the top, and I love the way that looks. So here you can really see the shine from the glass bead glitter gel that we've added. And notice I've added a little bit of washi tape to the bottom of that paper clip as well. And now I'm going to add some washi tape just around that, where the mixed media sort of stops and starts. The glass bead glitter gel just starts and stops there on the edges, and it's just going to help to draw your eye right back up to that photo where that pop of color is below the heart paper clip, and it just really helps to bring your eye right back up to your photograph. So I've decided that that thread just needed to be adhered just a little bit down there at the top. Now I'm coming back with my glass bead glitter gel and a popsicle stick, and I'm just going to touch the tips of my flowers. That's going to give them a little bit of sparkle and kind of help to grunge them up too a little bit. It'll be hard to see in the video and probably in the photos, but in my hand it looks like I've applied glitter to the edges of all of my flowers. And again, it just kind of helps to add a little bit of that sparkle back up to the top layer. It draws attention to that area where my photograph is, since I have so much going on in the background, and it kind of helps to reinforce that glitter look that you find on the background as well. So again, I let this dry completely for a couple of hours. I didn't do the heat gun with it because the heat gun would actually cause the photograph to blister, so you have to be very careful. Here are some close-ups of the layout and the media areas. You can really see the glitter kind of on the tips there of those flowers. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this process video today. I've really enjoyed making it with you guys, and I hope you have enjoyed it. As always, a link to all of the products and a blog post link will be in the description box down below. Thank you for your sweet comments and for watching.